That is right, mobile gamers. Today we are going to check out the Sakura Retro Modding mod buttons that you see here. Now, these buttons are buttons that Sakura Retro Modding over on Etsy sells. They sell a whole bunch of different buttons for multiple different devices. I am going to be installing these on the Odin portal. Now, the reason for that is because I heard that these buttons make the Odin portal less clacky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record the clacky-ness of the A, B, X, and Y button so you guys can hear it, and then we're going to listen to a side-by-side to see if these make it a little bit less clacky, because I find these buttons a little bit clacky and a little bit loud when you're playing in bed. They're the only buttons that do that though. Now, I love this device, great device, and if you want to get yourself an Odin portal, it is great. You should definitely do so. Link in the description below. Not affiliated whatsoever, but I definitely think you should do so. I also have a video about these joysticks. These are joysticks based off of AYN, and they are joystick caps that you can buy over at AYN. They give you caps, and they also give you buttons. Now, I have a video coming out for that as well, but yeah, you can buy different bundles of these over there as well, and I really highly recommend you to get these if you're going to get yourself an Odin portal. Otherwise, you're stuck with these little tiny ones right here. So, first thing you're going to do though, if you're still using the little tiny ones, or regardless, is take those thumbstick caps off. Also, grab this little styrofoam piece that came with your device, because we're going to use this during the installation. Highly recommend you to get some sort of spudger tool like this so that you can actually pry open the device, and a toolkit of some sort. These are all going to be affiliate links in the description of the video, obviously. And this toolkit has a electric rechargeable screwdriver, and I highly recommend there is a spudger tool inside here as well, not to use that on plastic, because plastic on plastic doesn't scratch as much as metal on plastic. So definitely do not use the metal spudger tool. If you don't have another choice, then I guess use it, but I highly recommend you not to do so. Another great thing to have is a mat like this. Now, this mat isn't that big. It's probably like 1.5 feet by a foot, and it's really not that big. It rolls up and everything, and it has little numbering systems here. So if you're recording this, you can actually watch and follow along so that you can basically put the screws in certain spots. However, a lot of the screws are probably generic. I haven't opened this device up yet, so this is all going to be new to me as well. I'm going to open up these buttons so you can see which buttons I got. I got the Xbox style buttons so that they have different colors, so the A, B, X, and Y, and they go in the form of the Xbox controller. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. So they also give you like a little guitar pick and stuff, but really that doesn't really do too much, honestly. So that's just something I think they like to throw in there, but great option to have. Very, very, very great option to have. Welcome to what I'm going to call Modding Monday, because this is going to be a very first start of my modding. Highly recommend you to power down your device as well. And then we're going to grab this styrofoam mat. So the styrofoam mat is going to help you keep this device propped up so that the joysticks don't get pressed into the actual mat. Another thing I'm going to suggest is to take out the SD card. I'm not sure if the SD card is going to get in the way, but just in case it does, we're going to take it out and just put it aside. Now, the bit that I'm going to be trying to use, I think, is going to be a PH00 bit. Now, I'm going to try to make sure you guys can see everything on camera with the focus and everything. And I like to just try to feel if it actually fits, and that does seem like it fits. In most cases, the P00 bit does fit. I'm going to try to keep you guys engaged while I unscrew everything. So the back 4 screws, I'm just going to put in a little spot up here because I know they're going to be the same. Unless there's one that's longer, then I will have to actually number them. But I highly recommend. I think they're just probably all the same. It doesn't really, I don't know why they would use longer ones unless there was something really weird going on. So there we go. So I don't think there's any other screws. I was trying to look at this earlier, and I don't think there's any other screws on the back of this device or underneath or anything. So I think we're good to go to start looking at prying this apart. Now, when I do this kind of stuff, I have no clue what I'm doing usually. So I do know what I'm doing, but I usually just kind of look at it and try to wing it. I'm thinking that this is how you pry it open, and that's basically how it worked. So it did work that way. So this is how we're going to pry it open. I basically started off with the top, and the reason why I kind of had this idea was just because that's how they did it with the Odin 2, because I did an Odin 2 with these buttons before. And the other thing is to just give it a little bit of pressure, I think, along this side to see if you can actually get it open. Now, there's going to be push tabs somewhere probably along the side here that connect the actual back plate. As you can see here, the back plate just kind of pries open along the back. And I'm gonna keep prying it, just see if it'll pry off, and try to get yourself into that little spot. Maybe we will use this guitar pick. Guitar pick might help with trying to get into the actual seal, and if it doesn't stick to my hand. Yeah, I don't think this guitar pick's not that thick at all. This is like a really thin guitar pick. Now you could use other kind of little picks that I have, which are kind of like a guitar pick, but they are included in another kit that I have, which is right here. So I can use these ones. They're a little bit thicker, and I think that's probably why they put the guitar picks inside their sets, because you can use these to try to pry open this side. And AYN really didn't want us to take this device apart, I guess. There we go. So what I did is I just pulled it until I saw a little split right there, and then it split apart. Now what you could do, so it doesn't actually, you know, go back together, is put a little guitar pick on that side and then do the same thing. So I'm going to try to replicate that. So I just kind of pulled this back a bit, try not to pull too hard, and there we go. See? And now those little pry tabs or push tabs that are inside here are coming apart. Just be very, very careful. It is thin plastic, so you don't want to break the actual plastic. And there we go. Okay, so that back plate wasn't too bad. And there's those back buttons and everything. Just pay attention to those too. Make sure those little rubbers that are inside there don't fall out. And here is what the device looks like on the inside. Pretty cool, right? Now, let's flip it back over. So we are going to be working on this left side. I'm not taking apart the entire device, but I highly recommend, if you can, see this battery push. I think this is the battery right here, or maybe the battery is actually underneath here. Now, you don't have to do this, but you could do this if you're getting into all the rest of this device, is to take the battery. Wow, that's an interesting way to make something. Yeah, that's definitely different. Okay, anyways, to take the battery out, but this is the battery tab right here, and it's underneath this big black plate. But because we're only working on this side of the device, we shouldn't have to do that. Now, take note of this little ribbon cable over here. Like I said, I try to investigate things a little bit so that I know what I'm doing. And when I actually put things back together, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws. I don't know if this speaker is just going to lift up, because I think that's how they did it last time. Yeah, it just is glued down there. So there are more screws underneath that as well. Be careful when you pry that up, but that's double-sided tape. Make sure you don't get anything dirty on that, so it does stick back down. And I don't know, take a look at that. We might be able to just fold that over. So I'm going to try to get inside here. Now this one doesn't have that long. Yeah, that's just so that it'll actually connect. So I'm going to try to get this screw up here. Now I'm going to take a look at it. I'm thinking that this thing could pry off. There we go. So what I did, that does just push up. I put my little needle point right into here, and then I just pushed up like this, and it pushed off. So I'm going to try that on the right side. Actually, no, the right side's different. So the right side has this long piece, so the whole piece will probably have to come out on the right side. But so that we can get underneath this, we have to get to those screws. So let me see if I can put this back on. There it goes. It's back on. Okay, so I just pushed some pressure right here and pushed, and then it just popped off just like so, nicely, because it got little push tabs on each side, and it just popped off nicely. So that's pretty good. Just careful of that speaker. You don't want to rip that cable. Now let's get these screws out. So I don't always use the motorized part of the screws, but I'm going to start off with this left top corner and take note of the fact that that is magnets right there. So the magnets are going to try to push on the device, or try to grab the screws from the device. So put that at number 1. I'm just going to go around in a circle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically. These screws do look like they're the same length, but you never know, so you just want to try to keep them numbered. And then if they do all look like they're the same length in the end, you could just put them in a pile in a little like square like this. And I'll be very careful of that last screw. And yeah, all these screws are the same length, so you could just put them in a pile. Now be careful of this ribbon cable. Oh, this ribbon cable is all attached. Okay, great. That's awesome. That's all attached to this whole piece. So as you can see here, these pinouts, or these contacts right here, touch these contact pins right here. So be careful with that. Now we're going to just put this off to the side somewhere. And now we have to actually get to the motherboard, or the PCB board itself. Now pull this RB button out, or R1. Just put it off to the side, and pretty much the same. AYN has done like kind of the same kind of concept as they usually do with their devices. So there is the button down here. Now that's not part of the PCB, so there's a lot of ribbon cables inside this one. So I highly recommend probably take this ribbon cable out, push this black tab up on the right hand or left hand side, and take your pointy end of the spudger, and you can pull that out. just pop it out like that. Okay, just be very careful with it. Do not yank on it. If it's not coming, just give it some time and try to pull it out. You can use tweezers too. Now this is the ribbon cable for the trigger or the joystick. Make sure you be careful with that as well, because it looks like this joystick ribbon cable is different than the original one, so be very careful with that. Now we're going to take this ribbon cable out as well. It looks like, actually, we might not have to. We can leave this one in. We'll leave that one in because we can probably take the PCB board and flip it. Actually, no, we're going to take that one out because there's a ribbon cable right here for the actual motherboard that goes all the way across to the motherboard so that this board actually gets signal. So we're going to take this one out too, so we can get to that screw, or those buttons, I mean. There. Okay, and just make sure you remember all of those ribbon cables and make sure you put them all back after. Now we're going to take out all these screws. Now, since I know these screws are all the same, I'm going to put these ones over here in this little pad right here so that I know that these are the main blackboard screws. And what you could do, since you're putting them all in a little square, you could go like this and be like, this is for this piece, right? Just kind of set it off to the side. And this video is kind of like a, you know, kind of get you a little bit less stressed out about trying to do something like this if you've never done anything like this before. Oh, there goes the screw underneath. We're gonna have to make sure we get that after. Okay, and even those screws look the same. Now this board does just lift up. Be careful of that ribbon cable for your screw, or your joystick, I mean, and that just flips up like that. Now make sure you go and get that screw that came underneath there. And yeah, those are all the same size as well for this PCB board. I don't know if they're the same size for the actual front board, but now this piece right here, the membrane, this comes right out. It's all glued down and everything too, okay? So the thing about this, I did actually check out Sakura Retro Modding. He actually suggests that you peel this off. So my kit, or my Odin 2, came with extras, and that came with the extra black joysticks. I have the extra black ones as well. So I'm going to use these ones because I want to keep these ones for the original sake, because I want you guys to use, or be able to use these if you want to. Now, basically, again, you could just order a set if you don't want to deal with what I'm about to do. All you're going to do is try to peel off the glue very, very nicely. As you can see here, you peeled off the glue just like so, and now those buttons are disassembled from the actual membrane. So just use your nail and just peel it nicely. Don't yank on it or anything. So that's all I'm doing right now, is basically just peeling it back, and I'm getting my nail where the actual glue is, and I'm holding on to the whole thing and just peeling it ever so nicely. Hopefully the last one, knock on wood, comes off as well. Now there's extra glue on the edges, and you could use like a knife or whatever you have, or you can just use your fingers to peel it off. Now obviously a knife would probably be the best bet, so like a little X-Acto knife, or even something like this. You could probably just grab your cutters, maybe move your device out of the way, because you're gonna have a whole bunch of random glue pieces. And remember, we're not cutting off like the actual rubber or anything, we're just cutting off this white glue that's attached to these buttons. I don't know why A1N does this. Seems like they started doing this recently, and I'm really not sure why. It's kind of I don't know, very anti-mod. Because you have to remove the glue from these D-pad rubber membrane. Okay, now I'm going to clean this off, and then we're going to do that clacky test, because I didn't actually record that yet. And what I have to do for that is I'm going to actually screw down that PCB board back with the buttons back inside and record the clacky-ness of the ABX and Y buttons compared to the clacky-ness of the ABX and Y buttons with the new buttons inside. So I'm going to put these back in. I know this part's probably a little bit not necessary, but this is probably something that people want to know, is if these actually make a difference with the actual sound. Okay, now those are back in there, and let's start listening. So you can hear those are pretty clacky. Now we're gonna try that with the Sakura buttons when we get to the Sakura buttons. Now that I've cleaned off the rubbers, you can notice that the R1 button came off as well. Now be careful of your screws, because sometimes they demagnetize, and this kit comes with a remagnetizer. So you just scrape this thing on the bottom and it remagnetizes the actual screw bit, or the screwdriver bit, so that it holds onto the screw. There we go. Okay, now when I was putting this back on, you have to pay attention to the screw posts and everything as well. Make sure that you don't, ream on it, and then this does fold over just like so. Now we're going to pull these out, and we're going to check out the Sakura buttons and put them in. So let's put these down, and we're going to put these in the correct order. So A is at the bottom and B, do Y at the top because I know Y goes at the top. And they only go in a certain way as well, so you can tell if they're not fitting if you're not putting them in the right way. And X goes right there. Perfect. Okay. And now we have our new rubber membranes. Now you can clean off the tops of these a little bit more too. So using like a side cutter like this, if you find there's too much glue, make sure you don't get it inside your device. I think that should be good, or good enough at least. And then you line that rubber membrane back up the right spot. It should only go in one way, I think. Okay, I'm gonna try this a different way. If it doesn't go in one way, just try to flip it. Maybe it does just go in one way, or whatever way, it doesn't matter. Now again, keep an eye on these ribbon cables. So there's a ribbon cable on the bottom left hand side right here again, and you're going to try to pull that back and then lift this up a little bit and then try to line it up with the screw post right there. Make sure this ribbon cable's back, and make sure the ribbon cable for your joystick is back as well, and don't pull on it too much because you don't want to rip it or damage it or anything. And that ribbon cable wanted to get underneath, like I said not to do, and there we go. Now hold down PCB board a little bit and start screwing in the top screw. There we go. And now look at those are cool. Yeah, that definitely. Okay, let's take a listen. I can definitely tell a difference, and they feel nice. They actually feel really nice. Sakura Retro Modding does a really good job with these, and they got like a sparkly effect to them. Look at that. That's so cool. Now they do feel better. I feel a big difference, and I think that's because of how flat the back is. See how AYN has like a little bit of a divot inside of their actual their buttons? You'll notice this when you peel them off. I think having more of a flat button, plastic or something, makes a huge difference, and that's what Sakura Retro Modding buttons have. Now this rubber membrane, this goes back in only one way as well. You'll see that it lines up to the plastic and it'll go back in there. Now you can put that in after the fact or right now, it's up to you. And if it falls back out, at least you know. Now we're going to put all these ribbon cables back in. So when you put ribbon cables back in, try to just use your finger the best you can, unless you can use a plastic tweezers. Now make sure that you line it up. See, there's a little white line you'll see on the ribbon cable. Line it up until you get it as close as possible to the actual connector, and then it should just slide right in. That's why I say just use your finger, because it should just pop right in there. And that's what I'm gonna do, mess around with this one and put that in like that. There we go. And it's lined in straight. Push that tab down with your finger, and same with the top one. I'm gonna take this rubber membrane out actually for a second so I can get this top one in. And yeah, that's in there as well. It's perfect. That one just kind of popped right in as well, and there we go. Now put that rubber membrane back in. We're almost done. This is actually the quickest mod I've ever done for the Odin 2 or the Odin devices. This video right now is 27 minutes long, and I'm going to edit it obviously, so it'll be a little bit less time, but that really wasn't that long of a mod. Now we're going to make sure we put this back in. Just double check everything, make sure everything's all good, and we're going to put this piece back in. And it just sits on top of there. It doesn't really push down or connect or anything like that. And yeah, all these screws. So make sure you put all these screws back in. They're all the same length, remember. This screw right here on the top right hand side. Now I know, here we go. This one right here, that one doesn't come out. Just remember that. Now this one, I'm gonna say you're probably gonna have a problem with it because that magnet still wants to grab it. So that's where your tweezers do come in handy. So grab yourself some plastic or needle nose tweezers of some sort, and I'm gonna grab that screw. I'm gonna use this, try to push it in. Yeah, it still wants to grab because of that magnet. So another thing I used to try, so what you're gonna do, like that, there we go. Put your finger over top of that and then screw it as quick as possible. Make sure don't strip it though. And there we go. Now this piece again, this is just the R2 button. We can push it back down, make sure you line it up nicely. You can feel that it's lined up. Hold on to the back of this and then just pop it right down. Now put your speaker back in, stick it in there, and we're gonna put the back plate back on. And just push it on there all around the edges. You'll hear it all click, and then put your screws back in. And here we go. We can turn it back on. There's those buttons right there. Sakura Retro Modding, you did it again. These buttons are amazing, and they do feel great. They feel a lot better, and they're not as loud. Like very, 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 very quiet compared to the other ones. And I can feel that even like right off the bat, they're really, really soft. Now we're gonna go check out the handheld settings app really quick. Odin settings, controller style, joystick calibration test, gamepad test, A, B, X, and Y. Now, yes, because I'm not in Xbox mode, which I should be. There we go. A, B, X, Y. Joysticks all work. Yeah, we're still good. Everything's connected. Triggers, yeah, everything's good to go. We're really good to go. Look how actually responsive that is. I think these are a lot more responsive too, because they don't have that much travel. And like, I can probably play this in my bed and my wife won't even notice. So I highly recommend you to go support Sakura Retro Modding. Thank you, Sakura Retro Modding. I bought these ones. I didn't get these for free, by the way, but they have sent me some for free in the past, and they are really good at doing what they do. These buttons are superb. Awesome A, B, X, and Y buttons for your Odin portal, your expensive Odin portal that plays just about everything. Have a nice day, guys. Stay tuned for the video about why you should buy these joystick caps, because they are also amazing. Bye!